What's going on, everyone? Just thought I'd do a follow-up video onto my last one in regards to or athlete to performer. Just chatting about working with the circus crew and moving from being a professional strongman as I was for many, many years, focusing through onto circus strongman, which I've had a passion for since I was a young kid. And probably the reason why I got into strongman was enjoying that side of it. Now, learning the professional side of being a circus performer, not just a circus strongman, but actually had to be a circus performer, learning the acro side of things and all that. So obviously in my last video, if you haven't seen that, I'll put it in the link below. I spoke about what my goal was coming into the Fringe, the injury in my bicep, which cost me my own show, but awesomely, my coach allowed me to join his team, and I was still able to be a part of the Fringe in his show. So, obviously, yeah, I had a few questions asked as well, which I'll go through in this video. But yeah, if you haven't seen my first one, feel free to have a look at that before watching this one. Might make things a little bit easier to understand. But yeah, so this one's going to be based on actually going through from training for the Fringe, all the training I did with the team, the building of the acts, following through into actually doing the Fringe show. So as I said, I was prepping for my own Fringe show and I did my injury, and then had the surgery and then moved into recovery and getting rebuilt up. And the surgeon, my physio, and everyone that had been working with me and had noticed my recovery was going well. And my coach asked me if I'd like to join his circus, which is called Outside the Lines Circus. Again, I'll put that in the description below. And be a part of his show, which was called A Game of Circus. So, A Game of Circus, the basic premise of the show was everything we did on stage was a game. Everything we did. So, the way we got on stage, the way we got off stage, the way we went from Act 1 to Act 2 to Act 3 to Act 4 was all the game. Everything from the start of the show to the finish of the show was a game. So leading into that, we just had to work out what games we were going to play. And some of the acts were just, the show was a kids-based show, was just so much fun because it took us back to being young kids again, playing games, but still having the feel of the work of the circus involved and the acro involved. So, for me as a strongman, when we go out and compete, we're competing by ourselves, for ourselves. In this, you're working together as a big team. And I haven't done a team sport for a very long time, probably since high school. And it was a bit of a change for me because every mess up I did, and I'm still like this now, my coach and everyone still has the shits with me when I apologize, because something you will start to learn when you do circus training or acro training is that you're a team. You got to get the feel for each other. You've got to have that connection. That's the biggest thing I've learned, is having a connection between each other. And having that connection and working with the awesome people I did in this show made a whole lot of sense to me as we went through the acts. So, one of our first acts was Grandma's Cupcake is what it was. So what I did is I'd walk on the side of the stage, and I had a play button and a pause button on the front and back of my outfit. So all the rest of the cast would be up the back, and they would have to climb in over the crowd and the audience to get on the stage. So I had a play button. So when I was facing away from them, the play button was on my back so they could move. But when I turned around, there was a pause button, which means they had to pause. So the crowd at the front were like, why is this guy standing on stage turning around facing back and forth? And after a while, they'd worked out, as I was turning around and like pointing out and stopping them, that it's a game, and they've got to try and get on stage and press the pause button, the play button, to start the show, which was to start the game. And I won't tell people too much about the show because hopefully the show will be up again next year at the Fringe. I'd like as many people to come as possible if I'm in the show again next year. But it was just so much fun. But I'll go through a few of the acts. So Grandma's Cupcake was the first one out there. Then we had I can't remember exactly the name of the game, but Alyssa, gymnast and flyer, she would walk up on stage and she'd pause. And we'd be all walking around going, well, why is she paused for? So what we had to do is then start making shapes with her. So we could do whatever we wanted. So every now and then I'd pull her hands up and make her hands into a pair of binoculars, and I'd look out into the crowd and wave at the crowd, or Jono would pick her up and do some awesome moves with her, or Erie would play around with her, and the guest artist and all that type of stuff. And that was just so much fun, and I got to do I got to do one of the lifts that I have wanted to get right for so long, a high star, which I will show up. I'm pretty sure I put the video up of me holding Alyssa up with one arm, and it's just such a beautiful looking movement, and I wanted to learn it so badly, and it took me a bit of time because of my left bicep being still recovering from the injury. It did take me some time to get the confidence to actually use that arm to help her up. But by the show's starting, I had that down pat, and it was just so much fun. And that was one of the acts. And then I guess I had my own act in the show because, again, due to the injury, everything I was doing literally had not much involvement with my left arm, due to not knowing exactly how recovered I was, or not that it wasn't that recovered, but I didn't quite have the strength there yet to hold. So everything I was doing was basically trying to limit the use of this arm at that point in time. So we did a yoke lift, or a semi-back lift, as you'd probably call it. And so my good friend Matt Leslie built me this awesome bar with sort of plates on either side that would step out either side so people could stand on it and hold on. So I had a big crossbar like a yoke with these big, long platforms out either side that we could get people to stand on. And what we wanted is we wanted the kids to be involved. We wanted to make it interactive with the kids. So my part of the act was actually getting kids on stage, and we'd have 4 kids on either side. If we couldn't get 4, we'd stick Alyssa and Steph on either side. So we'd have 4 people on either side, and I'd stand on a nice block, which made it higher and harder for me to lift. I'd pick them up, put them back down again. And I had a ball doing that. Yoke has been, in my whole career, probably my best lift. Still to this very day, I'm still the only person to do over 600 kilos in Australia. I believe Eddie Williams did 600 in World's Strongest Man 2 years back. And I've still got the Australian record at 610 kilos. So, the yoke's been a great event for me, and even with the little amount of training I had, I was still able to do these yoke stands, which was great. It really, the kids' faces were priceless when we had them up in the air. They're just absolute shocked that they were being lifted off the ground, and it really was just heartwarming for me that they enjoyed it so much, and really did make me feel a part of the show, because again, I'm working with so many world-class performers, and within the show, we had a guest artist each show. So each show was actually different, because we have a different guest artist each time. And some of the guest artists we had in were just mind-bogglingly good. We had world-level gymnasts, world-level circus. You would watch these guys and girls on stage, and I watched them come in and do some training sessions with us before we started. And it just blew my mind, some of the things that they were doing, and with the ease that they did it with. So the yoke lift made me feel like I was a part of the show and could do something different. And that is what I bring to Circus, is hopefully the legitimacy of being a ex-professional and a world-level athlete. But just, I'm still amazed and humbled by some of the things these guys do, and I love to learn from them too, because they're so willing and giving to teach me. It's just so cool. But in regards to actually how the show went, so we had an opening day Um, I've been around the world, competed against some of the best strength athletes in history. Um, Guys like Mike Jenkins. My first pro show was Mike Jenkins, Ed Hall, Mike Burke, and then we had a few of the South African strongest men. So, that was my first pro show at 21. Then I think my second pro show, I was up against Derek Poundstone, Nick Best, Warwick Brant, Jack McIntosh. We're talking legitimately some of the best of all time. And I was only in my early 20s. So, those were very cool moments for me that kind of gave me that relaxed attitude to stuff because I've been there and done it before, traveling to Russia and competing against the Russians on their home turf. But still, before stepping out on the stage, I had to take that big, deep breath and then go out and perform. I was nervous that I was going to remember things. Unlike strongman, where you go out and the equipment's there, you have to pick it up and carry it 20 meters. You've done it before. You know what you're doing with it. Little steps, etc., etc. Or there's a bar, pick it up. It's a deadlift. Those things are really simple. But remembering one of the axes where we had tape measures and grapes, and we had to roll them between each other. There was a whole sequence of things that we had to remember, and I was so nervous that I wouldn't remember it, and I'd stand in the wrong spot, or I'd do this, that, or the other. And everyone's like, Jordan, it doesn't matter if you mess up one spot. No one in the crowd's going to know. We'll help you get through it, but you'll be fine. And deep down inside the whole time, I was like, I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to stand in the wrong spot. I'm going to try and do the wrong trick at the wrong time. But it didn't happen just because of the awesome people I was working with and the amount of faith they instilled in me by their awesome skills. So the show, we sold out a lot of our shows. I think we only had one real quiet one, but the rest were basically almost sellouts. It was just unreal feeling stepping out onto the stage, and especially because I was always the first one on stage every show because I was the start and stop man, basically. And being... it was just it was like stepping back out into the competitive platform again, but just so much fun. I felt like I was starting strongman again. By the time I was getting to the end of my professional career, it was all about winning and losing. That was all that I cared about coming to the end. And then at that point, I knew probably that it was getting to me and I was wanting to taper off and slow down a little bit from there. But I went up on the stage for the circus and everything just flowed away and just could relax and just be myself and have so much fun. So the shows went really well. We had a 4.5 star review out of 5, and I think a 4 out of 5 star review, which, was such a green group of performers that had never performed together. Jono, our director and coach, he's unbelievable just in general, the way he put this show together, the way he taught us how to put shows together, how to act on stage, how to do certain things, but also at the same time, be ourselves. If something feels right on stage, do it. It's a really surreal feeling, and I hope everyone that came and saw the show knew that we were enjoying ourselves and having so much fun, and the crowd's response to us made us hopefully perform better. But I guess the highlight besides the yoke lift was learning the 3 high. We learnt this in training. Now, a 3 high is where one person's on my shoulders and then there's another person on their shoulders. Now, to circus people, a 3 high is pretty normal. It's not anything to be that sort of crazy about. It's a decent trick, but a lot of people can do it. I was so lucky to be taught by Jono, who taught me it in 3 days of doing it, and I probably spoke about it a lot more in my last video, so I won't harp on it too much this time about Jono being as awesome a coach as he is. So our finale was a 3 high. So we had a whole lot of shapes on our tops that coincided with positions. So on a piece of paper, we couldn't see what it was, and the crowd would say yes or no. So I'd step out there and I had a big square, and they'd say yes or no. So yes, I'd stay out there. Then another person would come out, and let's say it was Alyssa, and she had a triangle. What did she? She had a star or something. And let's say we were the square and the star were like this. So the star was on top and the square was underneath. That means she had to get onto my shoulders, and then we had the 2 high position. The crowd would go yes, and that's the trick done. So we went through a whole lot of different positions. One where Alyssa kept falling off my head because I got sweaty, where she had to climb everybody and then get to the top. And because I bead sweat terribly, she slid straight off numerous times. So she had to put the towel on my head, which was really funny. The crowd loved it. And we finished with a 3 high, which for me was, again, for circus people, it's not that magical of a trick. It's obviously impressive, but Jono, my coach, is 80 kilos and he can base a 3 high like it's nothing. I'm 135, so I should be able to base a 3 high. I should probably be able to base a 10 high. But, it's one of those things where it just felt so nice to have that moment where you've got 2 people standing on top of each other, on top of you, and the crowd, you can just hear the gasp as Alyssa got to the top, and the applaud at the end was great. So, look, to round it up, the Fringe was just so much fun for me. Stepping out onto the platform, meeting all the guest artists, watching so many different shows. I was a typical Fringe punter that would go see the big shows, none of the circus shows. If I was you next year, 2021, do yourself a favor and go see the circus shows, go see the smaller artists, because some of the things they do are amazing. Absolutely amazing. Gravity and Other Myths, who's the biggest, I guess, the biggest circus group here in Australia, the most professional, the most well-known. If they have a show, go see them. Rouge was here this year. Go see them. Work, it was another show that I went into, absolutely hilarious. Go see them. There was just so many shows, but to be an artist and to be a part of it was just, like I said, it felt like I was starting Strongman again. I felt like I was 17 years old again starting Strongman. And it was a really nice feeling. It was a nice feeling to compete, or not compete, but to perform in front of my friends, my family, because I don't think a lot of people wouldn't have even seen me compete because it's been so long and I haven't really competed in South Australia for many years. So I had an absolute ball. The people at the Fringe were great to work with. So look, that's basically a rundown of how the Fringe went for me. It was so much fun. I would never, ever change it. The bicep injury probably came for a reason. But, I've come out the other end with such a respect and love for circus, and I just can't wait to do some more. So, look, guys, if you're interested in doing some circus, I'll put down the Australian Circus Centre in the link below. I'll put Outside the Line Circus as well. You guys can keep an eye on things, and if you're interested in learning, please contact. And if you have any more questions for me about circus and Fringe, I'll definitely make another video on some circus stuff that I have been doing, or some other stuff. But if there's anything you want to know about my training leading in, or the shows itself, or next year's Fringe, let me know and I'll try and fill you in the best I can. But we'll give you some more content very, very soon. I hope you're all well, safe, happy, and I will hopefully see you all very, very soon. Take care.